Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, February 26, 2022, I wanted to conduct a update and video on the continued conflict in the Horn of Africa. So if you're relatively new to this channel, obviously I've picked up more subscribers and more viewers with the ensuing conflict or war between Ukraine and Russia. And quite frankly, the one thing that disturbs me quite a bit is probably over the last 3 days, we have seen more coverage of the conflict, the war between Russia and Ukraine, than probably the total coverage for the last year and a half, year plus, of the war that has been raging in the former state of Ethiopia within the context of the Ethiopian Civil War. Ukraine, a population of about 40 million people. In the former state of Ethiopia, you're looking at well over 100 million people. Furthermore, the invasion that took place of the Tigray region, that is the area here in the green. As we know, Tigray was fully occupied by the forces of the Eritrean army and the forces of the Abiy loyalist formations in the former state of Ethiopia and Amhara regional militia units. And they obviously were evicted from the Tigray region after a series of battlefield victories by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Now keep in mind, we have been concerned about 20,000, 50,000 Ukrainians fleeing to Poland, and there are probably going to be quite a bit more by the time that is all said and done. Inside of the Tigray region, approximately 2.5 million people were displaced. Think about that for a second. And at the same time, think about the coverage that has been going on in the mainstream media networks about this conflict, which, quite frankly, until the current conflagration between Russia and Ukraine, this was the highest intensity war on the planet. Again, mainly a light infantry war, with aspects of modern warfare as well, with the use of drones and multi-role or fighter bombers being used against the populace of both Tigray and the Oromo region as well. And we have seen tens of thousands of people starved to death. We have seen atrocities that are probably you cannot even conceptualize that have occurred within the course of this conflict. To the north, Eritrea, the despotic state of Eritrea, ruled by Isaias Afwerki. Folks, Vladimir Putin is a kindergarten teacher compared to this guy up here in the north, Isaias Afwerki, who has ruled Eritrea for the last many decades. And his protege, the ruler of the former state of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed. And right now, with his defeats that have taken place in the Tigray region, Abiy Ahmed is now fighting a war for survival against the Oromo Liberation Army in the Oromia region. And that is, again, an ongoing war that is displacing tens of thousands of people. And again, we continue to see the widespread use of drones and fixed-wing aircraft against a civil populace in the Oromo region as well. So again, very important that this stay on the radar of what is happening in the world, as there is a lot of attention right now to what is happening in Ukraine. And obviously that could, in one aspect, become much more of an issue for the world in general, especially when superpowers are involved. But at the same time, we look at the human toll that is taking place in Ukraine, and that toll simply does not compare to what has happened in the Tigray region. Again, millions displaced, tens, hundreds of thousands of people starving to death, being outright exterminated by Isaias Afwerki and the warlord of the former state of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed. And these are just simple facts. That is in fact what those two individuals are. And again, just based on what is and what has happened in the Tigray region, and again based on the media coverage, which has been minute as best, I would say, over the past year. If you compare and contrast the news coverage right now of the war in Ukraine, you have probably seen more coverage of that in probably 3 hours of media coverage. Now, I would even say less. I would say an hour of media coverage has exceeded the total media coverage of what has happened in the Tigray region. So, and as we know, there is this No More movement here in the United States, which actively supports these two despotic rulers, the ruler of Eritrea, Isaias Afwerki, and the ruler of the former state of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed. And that movement actively supports two what you would define as, or I would define at least, despotic dictators, especially Isaias Afwerki. If you look at the history behind that, and I would encourage you to delve into it and learn and understand what has happened and what is ongoing in this continued vicious war that is taking place in East Africa. And it is a horrible, horrible conflict that probably what is happening right now in Ukraine pales in comparison to what is currently happening and what has happened over the course of the last year in the former state of Ethiopia, and especially the Tigray region. In terms of ongoing activity, we continue to see the Tigrayan Defense Force reconstitute itself. I don't want to say reconstitute itself. It is becoming much more of a full-time and or professional force that quite possibly could at some point make a very aggressive move to reclaim the western Tigray region. And I've talked about that in depth and why that is a necessity for both the TDF and the Tigray region to have that ability to break the anaconda strategy of the Eritrean military and the former state of Ethiopia. The security mission by the TDF along the eastern border with its Afar region is wrapping down. We are still seeing fighting, but that had been a very successful operation, and we continue to see elements of the Tigrayan Defense Forces continuing to operate in the shared border of the Tigray-Afar regional border area. But again, we have continued to see requests for assistance from some of these Afar regional militia groups that had crossed into the Tigray region and were driven back, requesting support from the Abiy loyalist formations. However, the Abiy loyalist formations are really kind of wrapped up right now in dealing with the Oromo Liberation Army, as I talked about before, in that ongoing conflict. The areas in yellow are under the control of the Oromo Liberation Army. The areas in red of the Abiy loyalist and or Amhara militia formations that are active in this conflict. But we are continuing to monitor and watch the next moves by the TDF in terms of Western Tigray. I know there is an operational plan in place. We continue to see the TDF operating in Western Tigray. And at some point, we could see a very large operation by the Tigrayan Defense Forces if continued back channel talks with the former state of Ethiopia, with the Abiy loyalists, do not rectify the ongoing situation in Western Tigray, and the Anaconda strategy is thus lifted. But again, the Abiy loyalist formations have their hands full with the Oromo Liberation Army instituting its own Anaconda strategy against Addis Ababa, also known as Finfine, and that is having a great impact on the Prosperity Party and the leadership in Addis Ababa, and that struggle and that fight continues as we speak all across the Oromia region, Western Oromia, and in the south towards the Kenyan border as well, with cities under siege and main arterial routes into the former state of Ethiopia towards Addis Ababa and being blocked off by the Oromo Liberation Army in its continued efforts to have self-determination and quite possibly remove the Prosperity Party from power. That is the current news. We'll have more very, very soon. Have a good day, everybody.